Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Business Conversations. And I'm here with Jennifer Kelly from Nimble Quotes and New Initiatives Marketing. And this is episode 5. Jen, can you believe we're already at episode 5?
We're doing pretty good. We're doing really, really well.
We're trying to keep up this, being consistent every week. And I mean, that's one just small part of business is just being consistent, just showing up and stepping out of your comfort zone and getting out there. So we hope everyone is enjoying these business conversations. And today we're going to be speaking about something that I've experienced, Jen, I'm sure you've experienced, and a lot of my clients go through this stage. In fact, I think anyone who's running a business at some point reaches this point where the old saying, what got you here won't get you there. And you're getting ready to take your business to the next level, grow your business to the next level, might be double, triple, whatever it is. And when you get to that point, there's a change that you need to make in yourself. And I consider it, we'll talk about it this way. I say it's going from being a doer in your business to a leader in your business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Is it the kind of thing that you can see as you're coaching your clients? Is it the kind of thing that you find that your business clients, they can't see it themselves? They're just struggling with why things aren't working a certain way, or they're going for a bigger client or a bigger goal and they don't seem to be able to get there? Is this something that it's better seen from the outside, or do you think there's telltale signs that a business owner can see themselves, like, you know what, it's not working because you want to go here and you need different skills and a different setup to get here?
Yeah, what I see happening for my clients is typically they haven't got to the point to say, I want to grow the business more, or I want to double the business more. They're normally not seeing that in the moment. How they usually describe what is happening for them is, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I've got a roster of clients that's coming on next year. I don't know how I'm going to manage any more clients, or I'm starting to book my clients for next year and I can't even handle the number of clients that I have already. How am I going to take on any more? So they haven't really shifted to think about a growth strategy per se. They know they're growing, but they haven't really taken that, perhaps that next leap. They're stuck in the moment of overwhelm and how am I going to get all this done, and how do I get out of this? They haven't really strategically thought about what that growth strategy is and what they need to have in place to support them in that growth strategy.
That's really interesting. In the last few weeks, I've been, I have 5 people that work with me constantly. They're not employees, but contractors or other suppliers that work on a lot of my projects with me. And in talking about this very topic, that's why we're talking about it this week, I've likened it to, and all these people do sports, either like at an amateur level, but a pretty serious level. So I've always likened it to sports. But what you're saying here is, I can see why it's hard to really pinpoint what's happening. Let me give you the analogy. So in sports or athletics, you're doing a skill, and at first it's awkward, and then you get better and better and better at it. So take running, for example. You're running, say you're running a mile, a kilometer. And, at first it's really, really hard. Then as you get better and better at it, you can just, breeze through, no problem. And now, you need to go to the next level. But it's the kind of analogy that in business, it kind of never really gets easier. And so, you're like, oh, well, I can get all my work done by 3:30. It's time to grow. It comes the other way. You're feeling this overwhelm and you just think, I'm not new to this anymore. Why is it like this? So is overwhelm the only telltale sign that you really need to change the way that you're working?
I still really see it as, well, maybe it's the overwhelm, and for me it's sort of tied into this. You might also see yourself working extremely long hours all the time. You might see yourself working every single weekend. You might be doing those all-nighters on a far more regular basis than you ever had before. You might be finding that you haven't taken a vacation for 2 or 3 years. There are other ways that you will identify, or you're just feeling really tired because you're not sleeping properly. You're thinking about everything. You're very, very busy, running fast all the time in the day. So, it's overwhelm, it's exhaustion, it's really feeling like you're now not feeling like you actually are missing out on important events in life. You may see it may manifest itself in a relationship problem because you're just never available to your partner. So it's not necessarily overwhelm, although all of those categories I sort of bucket into an overwhelm sort of umbrella, because I think when all of those other pieces in your life are falling apart, or you're not getting enough rest, or you're having trouble at home, or you're not seeing your children, that all starts to play into this level of fear and anxiety and almost distress. And that's sort of the word people use to describe that is often overwhelm.
So what would you say to someone that says, I hear building a business, requires a lot of my energy and a lot of my sacrifice. This is just, part of the chapter I'm in. Do you buy into that, or is that misleading?
I personally don't buy into it, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. You and I both come from the corporate world, Jen, and I've done my long stints of working back to back for 3 to 6 months at a time, 3 o'clock in the morning, every night and weekends. And when I decided to start a business, a big reason for me starting the business was I wanted to be able to choose my own timelines. I wanted to control how many clients I do or do not have. I want to control how much vacation time I have. And what I have been thinking about is, I think as a society, we measure our success based on how much we do versus measuring our success on how little we had to do. And so I think there is a conditioning in our society that we think unless we're working really hard all the time, we're not being successful. And, like even in business, you have to work hard in business. Well, there are times when you have to put in some extra effort to get things up and running. But I think if we measured our own success on how do I set up a business to work the least amount of time that I need to, we would structure our business in a very different way. We'd get much quicker to that point of, and we'll talk, share a little bit more about this, but we'd much more quickly reach the point of, I need to make an investment to bring someone on. If my goal is to work fewer hours, you're going to get much more quickly to that point, versus I'm successful if I'm working really busy. If I'm working a lot of hours and I'm really busy, then I must be successful, because it's actually not true.
Well, it's funny because that goes back to, in other conversations we've had, the hourly thing came up, but it was more about the hourly wages. But the hour, there's only so many hours to work. So you need the help of other people to get you to where you're going. So, that's something that I'm sure, I don't know, I'll ask you this. Probably no client that you coach would counter that argument, right? You need some people to help you in order to get more done during the day, right? So in order to do that, you need to bring on the right people, even on a contract or project basis. And here's the thing, you need to train them. So that seems to be a hard thing for small business owners, entrepreneurs, right? Because a lot of what goes on is up here. Have you had a real challenge with any of your clients getting all they know about what they do in their business from up here actually into someone else's head, or into a training manual or a checklist, or somehow releasing that information so they can have other people help them.
Yeah.
Is that challenging?
For sure, it is challenging, and it is. That's where I would say the heavy lifting is. So if we're talking about where the hard work is in documenting those processes. You know, the hard work is in upfront in training someone to do what you do. So when I don't pretend that there is no hard work in business, because that's also not a true statement. There is work involved, but it's where you strategically spend your time, you know, doing the work. So that writing those processes down, heavy lift, but you only have to do it one time versus repeating it every single time. Training someone to do, you know, a job or part of your job, it's sort of a 1 or 2 time effort. It's not something then that you have to do every single day in your business for the rest of your life. So it is a challenge, and not only is it a challenge just to give them the structure they need to write down their processes, but it now becomes a skill set deficiency or a skill set gap sometimes as well. You know, a person who's great at doing marketing, as in your example, or a person who's a great interior designer, or a person who's a great wedding or event planner, as you know some of my clients are, they haven't learned how to train other people to be an effective leader. They haven't necessarily worked in a corporate environment where they've had a team of people underneath them, where they've had to be good communicators, you know, counselors in some case, you know, have those difficult conversations. So when you talk about skills in business, there's a very tactical skill of doing your task. There's a whole other skill set around management and leadership and communication and, you know, relationship building. So that's another whole level of skills. And nobody tells you that out of the gate when you start your business.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes, and I've made this mistake, sometimes I've made so many mistakes in this area. Oh my goodness. So so you have your skill set, what you do. So one of the things that small business owners are taught is you can't do it all. So maybe one of the first things to do is, okay, you get the help for the stuff that you don't like to do, or you don't really know how to do, or you don't do it all that well. Absolutely. Do you have any advice on how, if I am looking for someone that is doing something that I need to do something that I don't really know how to do, how do I have the confidence to hire or to bring on the right person when I'm not really sure about all that is involved in doing what I need done?
Mm-hmm.
So that can be a scary area. And for sure, I've made the mistake too. Just, you know, they talk a good game, seem okay, bring them on, and it turns out that they're running circles around you, just, you know, one lap ahead of you. They don't actually know that much more than you do. The disappointing thing about that is not only do you find out, okay, you brought on the wrong person, the skill level wasn't there, but also too, any work that had been done for any of your clients that perhaps could have been unsatisfactory, you're the one that has to take the responsibility for it, right? Yeah. So it just feels like you got a triple disappointment there. You got a client you have to, you know, face up to. You've got somebody you have to have that tough conversation with, and then yourself, of course. You're like, oh, how did I bring that person on? So
yeah, I think this is a real challenge, and I've had the same situation. You know, for example, I brought people on to help me with product launches, and they've been felt that they could, you know, knew about product launches. And, you know, as an example, and I'm sure there's examples you have the same, I know quite a lot about product launches, and I know about the tools, and I know about the autoresponders and the lead pages. And someone has said, oh yeah, I know how to do a launch. And then they come on board, and exactly that. Like, they don't know your autoresponder. They don't know your lead page. And so now you're here in a place where, literally that. You're almost teaching them on the job what you need to do you need them to do. And I don't think there's an easy answer to that. I think, you know, I think the growth mindset is this. You need to be prepared to take the risk. You need to be prepared to provide some support. You're going to learn very quickly whether someone has done what they needed to do or didn't know what they need to do. And very quickly you will know what the gap, the skill gap is. And unfortunately, I think that's just part of the process. You know, you're talking about an individual. I've had that same experience when I've gone to someone, and in fact, I think a lot of small business owners have had this. When I've gone to someone who says, and this must be almost distressing for you in your business, where they said, oh, I can create you a great website, or I'm an expert social media manager. And then 3 months down the track, when you've spent thousands of dollars, you don't have a great website that's attracting people. Your social media campaign didn't get you any more likes or follows. It's an expensive lesson to learn. It doesn't mean you shouldn't keep searching out for that great provider, like New Initiatives Marketing, you know, like it doesn't mean each time you sort of have that bad experience, if you will, you're going to learn, you're going to be more educated. So, you know, a long answer to your question, I think to some extent it's unavoidable. I think you can get recommendations from other people that have used a service provider or a contractor, and you can validate that. That's great. Mm-hmm. I think even if you can sort of get a high level of education on something yourself, you don't need to be an expert, but like kind of enough to be dangerous. You at least know better questions to ask, but I don't think it's unavoidable. I think you're going to have situations where some people will just be amazing, some people will not be amazing, and when they're not, I think the skill set is how to handle that, how to notice they're not amazing quickly, and how to get out of that situation as quickly as possible, or resolve that situation as quickly as possible. So educate or whatever that it needs to do, fix the problem.
One of the things I found the most difficult, I still find it difficult because I feel like, I don't even know what the word is, so I'll give you an example. I guess one of the things I've fallen down in is making the mistake that my common sense is everybody's common sense, or that some things that don't need to be said don't, you know, actually do. So, right. For example, so let's talk about writing. So we do a lot of content development. The fact that your document will appear on a Word document or a Google Doc, not some kind of weird program that nobody uses. I just right. thought, I mean, most of the world runs on Word and Google Docs, don't they? Does that have to be said? Turns out it does have to be said. Turns out certain things about fonts and colors have to be said. Turns out what a deadline means needs to be very specific. Like, that's the deadline where I need it final so I can show it to, you know, Bob. That deadline does not mean that's when you start asking me questions. Like, and I find for myself, I've felt, I don't know what the word is. Like these are professionals I'm dealing with, and just the need to be very, very specific about things that I guess I feel are so basic. Right. We really need to talk about deadlines, you know, exact deadlines, and like the time zone, even though we're in both the same time zone. Do we really need to talk about, you know, like, the Word doc? Do we really need to talk about not quoting inappropriate or offensive publication? Like, it just, so I mean, I guess we could go on here, but that was one of the things that is very, very, it's still to this day now when I'm writing either job descriptions or briefing somebody on a certain project, I will be very, very specific. And I can hear a voice in my head going, maybe I'm going overboard here about like, you must put X information in column B. Like, I just feel like you're not talking to a 7-year-old. But what I have noticed is when I be that specific, so for me, this is over specific in the way that I feel like I might be insulting the professional. That's when I get the best work back exactly how I want it. So I still have to make my peace with that. But for a long time, my casualness or my common sense, I just assumed everybody was operating at the same kind of level, which they aren't.
Right. No, and I think, I think that's the difference between someone who's a leader and an entrepreneur. You're a big picture thinker. You sort of think about all of those. You think in a way that is, you're sort of anticipating what could go wrong. You're anticipating where the bottlenecks are. You've had experience, and that's very leadership and entrepreneurial style thinking, where someone who's a doer is an operates more in an order taker capacity. They need specific information. They feel more comfortable and confident when they've been given that. And they know that they're meeting your expectations. Now, on the flip side of that, if you directed them, and we'll talk about that versus micromanaging, if you directed someone up front without all those details, but you still gave them specific direction and you told them something like this. So instead of like, I need it to be in Word or Google or whatever, you could give those instructions in a specific way, in a differently specific way, perhaps it is. You could say, here's my expectation of you. I'm expecting that you will do the necessary research to get the right page sizes. I'm expecting that you are confident and comfortable with all of the tools. I'm expecting that, if the client has an issue, that you are able to resolve that directly. You don't need to come to me. So that's what I mean. It's specific in a different way, but the action taker, the doer, has the parameters of which they're working in, and now they have a confidence level. They still might not get all of those minute details, but you're empowering them to make, so they know what decisions they should be making and what they should be looking out for. So I just, this is what I mean about kind of moving from that role of the action taker yourself into a leader. You now need to be thinking and operating in a different way. You need to draw on all of your communication skills. You're probably going to get burned a few times before you know what's the right balance between micromanaging versus giving people clear direction and empowering them to make decisions, and then being with them there along the way as a guide and mentor. Again, your role is coming more out of being that hands-on action taker to now your role is not, I don't have to do anything. Your role is, now I have to mentor people. Now I have to oversee work. Now I have to keep an eye on things versus physically doing. My role is changing, and it's a shift. It's for sure, it's a shift, and it's a definite skill set that you need to learn. So anyway, I hope that answers that question in terms of how specific should you be.
Very specific.
The last thing I would say about that, there is a fine line of, and I see this sometimes when, again, this is where there's an opportunity to step out. Sometimes people see leaders who have teams, who have an extremely competent team. They've validated that team is very competent and competent and confident, and they still keep micromanaging every single thing because it's not exactly the way they would do it. In fact, it's a perfectly great outcome, but they get so caught up in micromanaging every detail that their staff doesn't have the ability to learn and grow and experience. So there is a fine line between giving direction and then stepping back and letting the employee do what they need to do, or the contractor. And I think that fine line comes when you have a team that have been working with you regularly, that you know their style, that they've successfully delivered results for you before, and you continue to micromanage all the time. Like, that's just really frustrating for the team members, and it's not helping you to level up either. So.
You know, as you were speaking, it's also too, in this day and age, there's a lot of people that are using the contractor, virtual workers, right? So you pull people into your project. Yours is not the only thing that they are working on. So
Right.
as you were talking about this and being specific and whatnot, it's even more important today when you're using freelancers or contractors or folks that have more than just your business as a means to work on, because keep in mind, put yourself in their shoes. What if they're working, 2, 3, 10 different clients? It's going to be impossible for them to keep it in their head who likes what way. So to be overly specific is actually exactly what you need to do.
I think so.
Get over that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, that's all about, being that specific. That's almost your process, right? That's your style guide. That's your template. That's your checklist. So that level of being specific one time, the next time you're working with that same contractor or another contractor, you can just pull those specific notes out and say, here are the specific things that I need you to be aware of when you're working on my clients. And it saves you a lot of time. It for sure saves the person on the other end of the receiving end of that. It saves them time as well. And again, you are setting them up for success. And that's what a good leader does. A good leader sets other people up for success and supports them through those times when they're not being quite as successful or not doing it exactly as they would like to do it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, either way, it's tough. It is.
It's tough, right? And I come back to saying if you really want your business to grow and grow large, and I'm talking to a 6 or 7 figure business, you as the entrepreneur and leader of your organization need to change the way you operate. It is a change. It's not something we've ever been taught. No one's ever taught us to do that. And even in a corporate setting, the same problem occurs. People who are really good tacticians suddenly become managers, and they're terrible managers. They're terrible managers because no one taught them how to do that. Just because you're good at doing a job doesn't mean you're good at leading people. And you do need to be taught how to do that. And you do need to learn, in our case, learn on the job. And, it's not easy. And I just wanted to share, people might have seen this book. It's the E-Myth. And this one is the E-Myth Revisited. But if you haven't read that and you're struggling with some of the things that we've been talking about today, this is a great read. Like, it talks exactly about it talks exactly about that transition from the doer to the manager to the, and even going from the doer to the manager, there's another level then at a CEO level. A CEO of a company doesn't even monitor what their tacticians are doing. The CEO of the company is literally having, here's the strategy. I teach someone else who's a manager level to run the day-to-day operations. I'm completely separated from that. I look at my financial bottom line. I look at my big picture strategy of where I want to get to, and someone executes down. So there's another level. Even when you get good at letting other people do the doing, there's a whole other world when you like having a 7, 8 figure business and letting other people run that business for you, like this. So there's just layers and layers, but start with the E-Myth. That's a good starting point.
Always so much to learn. Hey, oh my goodness. I was at a conference in February, and one of the speakers said one thing, and he said, running your own business or being an entrepreneur, was it being an entrepreneur or running your own business? One of the two. Is the greatest self-development education in the world, because throughout the course of one day you're like freaked out. You're on top of the world. You have to deal with this crisis. You have to deal with that. Everything's going well. Like it's the, you know, it's also referred to as a roller coaster. So, and you just don't know what's around the next turn, and you just have to deal with it.
I know. Well, you know, my thoughts on it are this. You know, I mean, I think that's what makes being an entrepreneur so exciting, because no day is ever the same. So there's always a lot of variety. I've loved stepping into an entrepreneurial world because it's allowed me to learn so many new skills and stretch myself in sales and marketing and copywriting and tools and systems and all sorts of things. And for me, that's very exciting. And I think as entrepreneurs, we should always be investing in ourselves and learning. You know, the other place, I think, obviously, it really, running your own business stretches you sort of from a mindset and emotional place. And, you know, again, not something we've been ever conditioned to really look at as a general rule, of, you know, why your mindset is so important to your success, why clearing out all of those old issues that have been, you know, impact how you react to situations or you react to people, like clearing out that stuff. Like, when do you never hear about that in the corporate world. You go in with your baggage, you bring that baggage, you react badly, you know, in that setting for most of your life. And, you know, maybe you have one session on emotional intelligence and you think that everything is resolved. Whereas as an entrepreneur, I think you're dealing with those layers every single day. And I think that's, you know, that's part of the fun. And I think that's why entrepreneurs generally are kind of wired a little bit differently to the average person on the street. And that's what makes us fun and fabulous.
And a little bit crazy, but all good.
Yeah, for sure. So Jen, we're getting close to the 30-minute mark. I appreciate you having this conversation with me today and sort of sharing some of your own experiences. I hope that that's encouraging to other people who are watching, who, you know, you're not alone. I go through it. Jennifer goes through it. You know, I'm sort of getting to a next level of my business as well. And, you know, bringing on more people, focusing on the things that I'm really great at and in my genius zone. That's what I'm doing more of now. So just continue to do that. And, you know, I do want to reiterate the point that I made earlier, though. If you're measuring your success, and your success measures can be a few things. You're measuring success on how much money you're making, on how many clients you have, and how busy you are. I really challenge you to turn that around and turn it around, or add in a measure of how much time you're taking off and how many hours a day you work. And if those measures are not being met, then, you know, time to switch something off.
I was going to say, if those measures are not being met, give Natasha a call. You need some help.
I'll help you out with that, because I'm committed to creating my business my way. I'm allowed to do that. And I'm committed to having a business that satisfies me financially, but really gives me the lifestyle that I want to have, and the time freedom. That is a hugely overlooked piece of the puzzle. And when you start measuring that way, then, as I mentioned, you'll rapidly move from that doer to leader role, because your measure of success is measured by not doing as much.
Fantastic. Good. Absolutely.
So if people do need some amazing help from an amazing person who does know what they're doing around marketing and social media support, Jen, how can people get in contact with you?
A couple different ways. Well, first of all, thank you. It's so flattering. So we have Nimble Quotes, which is for anybody on Twitter. That is a service that posts inspirational quotes to your Twitter feed as if you've tweeted them yourself. It saves a ton of time. You can sign up at nimblequotes.com for the 30-day free trial, and subscriptions start at $49 a year. Talk about getting some time back with that. So that's at nimblequotes.com. And with New Initiatives Marketing, so just like the name, long name, Natasha, I was saying to someone the other day, I'm like, the next company I start, it's going to be a short name. I mean, oh my goodness.
I'm going to call you NI Marketing, and we're done.
I know. It's getting to that. So marketing is newinitiativesmarketing.com, and you can reach out to me at Jen, Jen, at newinitiativesmarketing.com.
Fantastic. And you know what I said before about getting a recommendation? There's my recommendation to my friend Jen Kelly. And if you are in that transition stage, if you're looking to level up to the next level of business, I would love to help you that. I love helping my clients with strategy, processes, team building, their own leadership skills, whatever it takes to bring you to the next level. You can find me at inspireanddrive.com. And we really hope that you've been enjoying these business chats and are getting something out of them. If you are enjoying them, please subscribe to our YouTube channels. You can turn on the notifications just on the little bell so you don't miss a single episode. And we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what's going on for you in your business, what challenges you're having, or what questions you have. And we would really like to cover those and have a conversation about them on a future business chat with Jennifer and myself. So that's all for this week. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. So have a great week and start thinking about how you'll be going to become a leader in your business.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.